ladies and gentlemen, it is time to begin the show. That's right, folks. Had to throw some stuff together real quick for you guys, but it's time to get this show started, shall we?
So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here he is, the world famous Rich Wilson.
It's that way, dumbass. That way. Folks, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the world famous Rich Wilson Show. I am Rich Wilson, and you're not. Well, tonight we were going to have a live interview with Bella Levy, but unfortunately things have come up at the last minute, and she is not able to be here. However, we are going to reschedule that interview for a later date, and I will let you guys know when that's going to happen. Okay, hopefully soon. So tonight, instead, since I had basically 15 minutes to throw together a show, I'm going to do a blind react to the President of the United States. Today, he did a speech, and it was updating the Ukraine incident issue, and I need to make sure that I'm able to hear it in my headphones, because otherwise I will not be able to hear it whatsoever. So I need to make sure that it's there. I need to, where is it? It's display capture, but it's not showing in my mixer. Why is it not showing on my mixer? Oh, it's going to be on desktop audio. There we go. Okay. So that way I'm able to hear it. Otherwise, I will not be able to hear anything that happens. I'm sure it'll pop up while we're going. So anyway, I've never done a live react before. I've done a react before where I could do where I could kind of edit it and piece together a video. This time it'll come, so there's going to be probably some pausing and things like that. So you just have to bear with me. Like I said, it kind of pieced this whole thing together at the last second, and we'll just have to see how it goes. So there's our president. By the way, if any of you have ever watched one of his, or anytime the White House does one of these things and they have the sign language girl, she gets really animated. I've seen sign language people do sign language interpretations, and there's some animation, but it's not that animated. This girl, very animated. But anyway, so this is the president's speech today concerning the update on Russia and Ukraine. So we're going to watch this together, and I'm going to make comments, and let's see how this goes, because I have never done one of these live before. By the way, folks, make sure if you like this content, click subscribe, click the notification bell so you can know every time I'm on, or click follow on one of the multiple streams that we're streaming on. By the way, folks, also remember we have our own website now, therichwilsonshow.com, therichwilsonshow.com. That is therichwilsonshow.com. You can subscribe to it, and when I can, I might put together a newsletter or something. And also there's a merch store. Buy merch. Keep this show going. If you really like this show, buy merch. It keeps the show going. You'll find my signature Stop Fake Hate, and don't let others determine who you are on there. Those are the two shirts we have. We will come up with something even more when we can. So, well, we'll be designing stuff and continue on. So let's get this started. This is the President of the United States and his update on Russia and Ukraine.
Well, good afternoon. Yesterday, Vladimir Putin recognized two regions of Ukraine as independent states. And he bizarrely asserted that these regions are no longer part of Ukraine and their sovereign territory.
Okay, so that right there is insanely interesting. And the reason why that's insanely interesting is, yes, Vladimir Putin did decide suddenly to just state that two cities that are run by Russian-backed separatists are now separated from Ukraine. Without firing a single shot or doing anything, Russia has already declared them a part of Russia now. That's not how this works. And he's right. That was bizarre as hell. I'll give him that.
Put it simply, Russia just announced that it is carving out a big chunk of Ukraine. Last night, Putin authorized Russian forces to deploy into these regions. Today, he asserted that these regions are actually extend deeper than the two areas he recognized.
Okay. Did y'all see that? I understand that a lot of people that make the comments about there's something definitely going on with our president, and a lot of people make the comment. I'll play this again for you. But watch his facial expressions when he loses track of what he's saying.
These regions. Today, he asserted that these regions are actually extend deeper than the two areas he recognized.
Okay, once again, there's an idiot who posted a link in the chat, and give me a second. I have to stop for a second. I apologize, but that unfortunately I can't ban them without and I apologize for this. There we go. Let me go back to this. Once again, I apologize for that. But for some stupid reason, when you see any of those like something .go or NGO or whatever, and it's looks like a Russian name on it, don't click on that on the chat room. But anyway, back to what I was saying, because screw that guy, whoever that is. So, did you see his facial expression when he did that? There's definitely something going wrong with our president. And it's serious. I've seen that on people before that go through this, and it's not good. And I don't know why they continue to put him in front of a camera when he starts getting messed up. The sign that something was starting to go wrong thought wise was when he said region and then had to correct himself and say regions. And then you can actually watch his facial expression start to go south, and he starts having issues with it. And to me, it's kind of frightening that this is the leader of our country. Zion Brin said, FYI, these regions declared independence back in 2014, but evidently now, because Russia has inserted separatists into these regions, they have backed the Russians are backing them, and they now have stated that these are now part of Russia. So,
claiming large areas currently under the jurisdiction of the Ukrainian government. He's setting up a rationale to take more territory by force, in my view. And if we listened to his speech last night, and many of you did, I know, he's setting up a rationale to go much further. This is the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, as he indicated and asked permission to be able to do from his Duma. So let's begin to, I'm going to begin to impose sanctions in response far beyond the steps we and our allies and partners implemented in 2014.
Okay, that's interesting. We're going far and beyond what they did in 2014. We can't say what we did in 2017. Okay, interesting. Because we put sanctions on Russia in 2017, by the way, if people care to realize that. Donald Trump put sanctions on Russia in 2017. They were pretty hard-hitting sanctions. But we're going to act like 2016 to 2020 didn't exist, is what I'm getting there. We're going harder than 2014. Well, Obama didn't really put serious sanctions on Russia. So just about anything's going to be harder than what they did in 2014.
And if Russia goes further with this invasion, we stand prepared to go further as with sanctions. Who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors?
Who in the... I'll play that again. Where's it at?
And if Russia goes further with this invasion, we stand prepared to go further as with sanctions. Who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare?
Okay, I can tell you right now he's reading from a teleprompter. Okay. And he didn't understand that statement when his brain pre-read it, and he stumbled on it. Okay, that right there is not any kind of a... I do the same thing when I'm reading something and my brain scans ahead and I don't understand what I'm about to read. Like, who in the hell put that in a statement? Who put that statement together? Whoever that is needs to be fired. What in the Lord's name gives him the reason? Okay, we all know Joe Biden cusses. We all know this. I mean, come on. They caught him on the hot. They've caught him on hot mics multiple times. Joe Biden would not say, and the fact is, I have experience with him being my senator. Joe Biden would not say, "Who in the Lord's name?" Joe Biden would say, "Who in the hell gave you the right?" This is appeasement language, where I'm going to sound like I'm being strong without insulting you. When the Joe Biden that I knew would sit there and honestly come out and say, who in the hell gave you the authority to do this? So I don't understand that statement. I would have gotten confused by it too, so I'll give him that one. That's why he looks so confused for a moment before he says it, and then he has to say it, and he gets tripped up over it. Because that's not shit Joe Biden would say. Joe Biden wouldn't say shit like that. In fact, what would be amazing, which I wish he would do, is, who the fuck do you think you are? That's something Joe Biden would say. That is a Joe Biden statement. Or who in God's name do you think you are? That would make more sense. You're right, Zion Brent. But whoever wrote that, because he's reading from a teleprompter, you could see it, and he's not the one that wrote this. And in fact, do you see when he does this? Remember when he got a whole hell of a lot of trouble during the debates when he told, or when he was doing his town halls and he told them to forward the teleprompter? Well, instead of doing that now, Joe will do this. He'll do this, or he does this. This is a signal, and trust me, he's not the only one that's ever done it. Lots of politicians and other people reading from teleprompters, they have hand signals. Like sometimes you'll see somebody do this, like they're dusting something off, or they'll give some kind of hand signal to continue the teleprompter, to get it moving, because I'm already ahead of you. Okay, so that's nothing new. It's just he's not scratching his nose. He doesn't have an issue with his nose. It's him telling the person operating the teleprompter to go forward.
New so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors. This is a flagrant violation of international law, and it demands a firm response from the international community.
He's not completely wrong with this. The UN has already condemned Putin's actions. Putin went to the UN to talk about this, and the UN straight up told him no.
Over the last few months, we've coordinated closely with our NATO allies and partners in Europe and around the world to prepare that response. We've said all along, and I've told Putin to his face more than a month ago.
Again, there's an issue going on there. If anybody's watching this show that has ever dealt with any of their relatives or older relatives when they're starting to have problems with speech and cognition, recognize that right there. Not to mention the fact, on top of it, he's trying to read a teleprompter of a speech he didn't even write. So you're making it even harder for the man to be able to speak. They should have just said, here's the points. They should have just given the paper in front of him and said, here's the points, go with it. I think he would have done a better job with this. I really do. And I feel, part of me feels terrible because they probably put this speech together and did not give it to him in advance for him to go over it. It's obvious. And he's having a problem with a mental decline, and you could see it.
That we would act together. And the moment Russia moved against Ukraine, Russia has now undeniably moved against Ukraine by declaring these independent states. So today, I'm announcing the first tranche of sanctions to impose costs on Russia in response to their actions yesterday. These have been closely coordinated with our allies and partners and will continue to escalate sanctions if Russia escalates. We're implementing full blocking sanctions on two large Russian financial institutions, VEB and their military bank. We're implementing comprehensive sanctions on Russian sovereign debt. That means we've cut off Russia's government from Western financing. It can no longer raise money from the West and cannot trade in its new debt on our markets or European markets either.
Okay, so let me explain why that sounds important, but it isn't. Okay. It sounds like it's strong, right? We're going to sanction their bank, and we're going to sanction the military side of the bank, and then we're going to block us paying the debt, part of our debt that they own. Now understand, and one day I'll have a show on if you actually took the world's debt, that you take the amount that each country owns and balances out based on what they owe, it would be to zero. Nobody would really owe anything. Some countries would. The ones that have overly printed their own money would be in debt. Cut the oil or it doesn't matter. That would be a great thing to do. But you know, I'll explain why I don't think that's going to happen anyway.
Starting tomorrow and continuing in the days ahead, we'll also impose sanctions on Russia's elites and their family members. They share in the corrupt gains of the Kremlin policies and should share in the pain as well. And because of Russia's actions, we've worked with Germany to ensure Nord Stream 2 will not, as I promised, will not move forward. As Russia contemplates its next move,
I don't know how that's possible, because if anybody watched, and I was going to mention this later, but since he brought it up, I'll go ahead and mention it now. When the German chancellor was there at the White House a couple days ago, and they did a press conference, the German chancellor was asked over and over and over again about Nord Stream 2, about cutting it off. He wouldn't discuss it. He wouldn't bring it up. He wouldn't talk about it. Biden kept saying that he was going to do it. But the German chancellor, who actually does control whether or not it goes or not, would not discuss it. Now, Biden's making a promise that Nord Stream 2 is not going to go online, but the German chancellor still has not said that that's what they're going to do. And Zion Brent says the resources in Ukraine are more than it pays, for everything. And you're not wrong. Yeah, the Germans are not on board, and they're not. The Germans are not on board with this. Otherwise, they would have come out and made a strong statement to the fact. Okay, I have never seen somebody look so uncomfortable in front of a podium when asked these questions, and watching the leader next to him make all these promises for them that he did not say and was not willing to say. But Ukraine has a lot of other resources, and it's one of the reasons why people like myself believe that Russia is going after Ukraine. It's not necessarily all this other stuff that they've put out there and all this hype, because the America has lied about things. Russia has lied about things. It's the natural resources in Ukraine are insanely rich, and when Russia lost Ukraine, they lost the access to those resources. And they lost getting those resources for free, and they have to pay Ukraine for them. And that's what part of this is about. But like you said, Zion, and I agree with you completely, Germany is not on board with cutting off the pipeline, because they won't even discuss it. So I don't know how he's making this promise when he hasn't even gotten Germany to sign off on it.
We have our next move prepared as well. Russia will pay an even steeper price if it continues its aggression, including additional sanctions. The United States will continue to provide defensive assistance to Ukraine in the meantime, and will continue to reinforce and reassure our NATO allies. Today, in response to Russia's admission that it will not withdraw its forces from Belarus, I have authorized additional movements of U.S. forces and equipment already stationed in Europe to strengthen our Baltic allies, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania.
What does this mean? For people wondering, nothing. Oh, God, once again, folks, do not click on the link. Whatever you do, sorry, I got to do this. I hate doing that. Bring this up. I hate when they do this crap. All right. That literally means nothing. We're moving our troops and putting our troops in these areas. Nowhere near the Russians. Okay, so all it is we're going to move our people. Okay. And unless you put our troops in Ukraine, it means absolutely nothing.
Let me be clear. These are totally defensive moves on our part. We have no intention of fighting Russia. We want to send an unmistakable message, though, that the United States, together with our allies, will defend every inch of NATO territory and abide by the commitments we made to NATO. We still believe that Russia is poised to go much further in launching a massive military attack against Ukraine. Hope I'm wrong about that. Hope we're wrong about that. But Russia has only escalated its threat against the rest of Ukrainian territory, including major cities and including the capital city of Kyiv. There are still well over 150,000 Russian troops surrounding Ukraine. And as I said, Russian forces remain positioned in Belarus to attack Ukraine from the north, including warplanes and offensive missile systems. Russia's moved troops closer to Ukraine's border with Russia. Russia's naval vessels are maneuvering in the Black Sea to Ukraine's south, including amphibious assault ships, missile cruisers, and submarines. Russia's moved supplies of blood and medical equipment into position on their border. You don't need blood unless you plan on starting a war. Over the last few days, we've seen much of the playbook that Secretary Blinken laid out last week in the United Nations Security Council come to pass. A major increase in military provocations and false flag events along the line of contact in the Donbass. Dramatically staged, conveniently on-camera meeting of Putin's Security Council to grandstand for the Russian public. And now, political provocation of recognizing sovereign Ukrainian territory as so-called independent republics in clear violation, again, of international law. President Putin has sought authorization from the Russian parliament to use military force outside of Russian territory. And this set the stage for further pretexts of further provocations by Russia to try to justify further military action. None of us should be fooled. None of us will be fooled. There is no justification. Further Russian assault in Ukraine remains a severe threat in the days ahead. And if Russia proceeds, it is Russia and Russia alone that bears the responsibility. As we respond, my administration is using every tool at our disposal to protect American businesses and consumers from rising prices at the pump.
He's doing what he can to prevent and protect the consumers from rising prices at the pump. So this next statement better be pretty goddamn good. You're going to have to back that up, Mr. President. Zion Brin said, so Belarus picked a side. Not a surprise. That gets them friends without having to join Russia. There are a bunch of troops. There are a bunch of troops in Belarus right now. This next statement, though, about protecting the cost of oil and gas, this ought to be pretty good then.
As I said last week, defending freedom will have cost for us as well and here at home. We need to be honest about that.
He just sat there and gave you the excuse on why your fuel prices are going up. He said, we're going to protect the prices from going up, but they're going to go up. Did you guys catch that? He made a big opening statement of, we're going to do what we can to protect the oil prices from going up. But in order to do this, the oil prices are going to go up. He just basically said, what I just told you about protecting your price of oil, it doesn't mean shit. And here's the reason why. What's currently going on in Ukraine does not necessarily affect our oil prices as much because of where we get a majority of our oil from. It's not from Russia where we get a majority of it. Zion Brin, the only reason he wants to protect us at the pump is because he destroyed our energy independence. He did. He did. Here would have been a great line to say that we're going to protect the consumer from the price is at the pump. I'm going to begin allow drilling and I'm going to reopen the Keystone Pipeline. That would have solved that problem right there. OPEC would have shit their pants and prices on barrels of oil in the stock market tomorrow would drop. But no, we can't do the reasonable thing, the thing that we can solve on our end. See, here's the problem is when you've got a problem to solve, don't look for other people to solve your problems. And that's where this country has fallen apart. And that's where you get this bullshit of the fake hate and all these other people who think that everybody owes them something. It's bullshit like that right there. It's other people's fault when we can fix it ourselves. And he just fucked the pooch right there with what he said. Zion Brin, and he has no plan. Yeah. And all you little people can deal with it. We're doing nothing. Exactly. He sat there and said, we're going to do what we can do to protect people and the prices at the pump. But the prices at the pump are going to go up because of Russia. The prices at the pump in the United States went up because you shut off our energy independence and our ability to tell the world to go screw yourself. We can produce enough oil for our own consumption. We don't need you. Now there's a situation where one of the oil producers in the world is involved in a conflict and the prices are skyrocketing. The cost of oil is going up. It will be over $100. It will get over $100 a barrel if it's not already there today. I didn't see the closeout of the stock market today, but it was climbing to $100 a barrel. Okay? It's going to be over that. We are on pace right now to surpass the most expensive oil has ever been. Okay? But I was always told if you have a problem, you need to solve it. You don't need to look to somebody else to solve it. And these people that have been going around with their fake hate bullshit and blaming everybody else for their problems, this is where they get it from. This is where they get it from, is people like this sitting there blaming everyone else for the problem. Apologize for going on a rant. Let's keep going. But this is the reason right here. Because our commander-in-chief is sitting up there blaming everybody else for our problems. No, Mr. President, it's your fault. The buck stops with you. It's your fault.
But as we do this, I'm going to take robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at the Russian economy, not ours.
Because evidently it's their
Monitoring
fault.
Energy supplies for any disruption. We're executing a plan in coordination with major oil-producing consumers and producers.
I can tell you right now, every time he's gone to OPEC and asked for an increase in oil supplies and stuff like that, they've told him to go pound sand. Every single time he's done it, they told him to go pound sand. So I don't buy that. I seriously don't buy. We're gonna go ask. Oh yeah, we could be Tiny Tim for Christ's sakes. Please, sir, can I have more?
Toward a collective investment to secure stability in global energy supplies. This will blunt gas prices. I want to limit the pain the American people are feeling at the gas pump. This is critical to me.
Pump
In the
oil.
last few days, I've been in
Drilling.
constant contact with European leaders, including with Ukrainian President Zelensky. Vice President Harris met in person with the leaders in Germany over the weekend.
And that was an embarrassment. It really was.
At the Munich conference, including President Zelensky. At every step, we have shown the United States and our allies and partners are working in unison, which he hasn't been counting on, Mr. Putin. We're united in our support of Ukraine.
Thank you, Super Dave. Super Dave right there with that comment. That's like asking a parts store if you can have a part for free. No, you're not going to get the part for free. You got to pay for it. And who ends up paying for that in the end? We do.
We are united in our opposition to Russian aggression, and we're united in our resolve to defend our NATO alliance, and we're united in our understanding of the urgency and seriousness of the threat Russia is making to global peace and stability. Yesterday, the world heard clearly the full extent of Vladimir Putin's twisted rewrite of history, going back more than a century, as he waxed eloquently, noting that, well, I'm not going to go into it, but nothing.
What? Okay, can somebody explain to me that reference he made? I'll back this up a little bit and see if I can get where it was at.
Heard clearly the full extent of Vladimir Putin's twisted rewrite of history, going back more than a century, as he waxed eloquently, noting that, well, I'm not going to go into it, but
OPEC has the world over a barrel because we were the check and balance, and we stopped. They won't do anything. They're all going to get rich. You're right. Okay, so I'm trying to decipher that last statement. He waxed so much, and he obviously gets like insanely confused and almost looks like smoke's about to roll out of his head. And then suddenly I'm not going to get into it. It is one of those moments I think he was getting ready to go off script, and I don't even know where he was aiming at with that. I don't know if you guys can tell me what you got from it, or maybe it's a term you've heard. I've never heard of somebody waxing a state, like that. I've never heard of that terminology before. So maybe it's a legitimate description of speaking, and I've just never heard of it before.
nothing in Putin's lengthy remarks indicate any interest in pursuing real dialogue on European security in the year 2022. He directly attacked Ukraine's right to exist.
Okay, well, Putin doesn't give a flying shit about Europe. He doesn't. He's made that very clear on multiple occasions, he doesn't care about Europe. He doesn't care about any of those countries, and he would be perfectly fine if he took them all over. He doesn't care, so I don't even know why anybody that has half a brain knows Putin doesn't give a damn about any of those places over there.
He indirectly threatened territory formerly held by Russia, including nations that today are thriving democracies and members of NATO. He explicitly threatened war unless his extreme demands were met.
Okay, NATO was formed to keep Russia in check. So, again, all these statements he's making right now are pointless. We all know this. Anybody who's watching this show that grew up or paid any attention during the Cold War, every Russian leader has not given a damn. I have about waxed and about waxed poetics. Okay, if you understand it, fine. I don't. I'm not going to give the man a rash of shit over something that I don't understand. But when he sits there and starts going down, like, oh, I'm not going to get into that. You started that road. Means to drone in or flower. Okay, I got you. All right, so no, I get the gist of what it means now. Okay, so it's not necessarily a bad terminology. I think that Biden was trying to go off script and put his own statement on it, and then as the teleprompter was rolling, realized he wasn't going to be able to get back to where the teleprompter was and just cut it off. Which is okay. I get that. Not going to give him a bunch of shit about that. But if you're going to start down that road, you might as well just go down the road at that point. You just turn around and give the stop sign to the teleprompter and just say what you need to say. And then go back and then start the whole, and then send it back on its way.
And there's no question that Russia is the aggressor. So we're clear-eyed about the challenges we're facing. Nonetheless, there is still time to avert the worst-case scenario that will bring untold suffering to millions of people if they move as suggested. The United States and our allies and partners remain open to diplomacy if it is serious. When all is said and done, we're going to judge Russia by its actions, not its words. And whatever Russia does next, we're ready to respond with unity, clarity, and conviction. We'll probably have more to say about this as it moves on. I'm hoping diplomacy is still available. Thank you all very much.
Now let's see, do they show it all the way? I saw this part. This was something that everybody was commenting about. The press tries to make a comment, and he just shuffles off. All right, so that's our president. Now, my takes from this. Number one, we're going to show that we give a damn, but he did not literally, and I did not watch this before. This is the first time I've watched it. He did not, what he's going after banks in the United States that are in the bank system through the United States into and the financial flow by not allowing them to have access to money that they have here in the United States. I trust me when I say this, their money is here. It's a lot more complicated. It doesn't matter because Russia has financial assets in other parts of the world. They have means, and they know that they have means elsewhere. If you cut Russia's finances off in one location, they have it in multiple others. Jesus, once again, ignore the chat with the stupid ass links. That is, I hate when people do that garbage. Wait, he said if they invaded, diplomacy was off and consequences would be severe. There are no consequences. There's none. Remember that. The consequences are these tough sanctions since that were tougher than they were in 2014. You know, Obama's line in the sand bullshit that he did in with the Syrians. It's the same thing here. It is literally the same thing here. Oh, we're going to draw a line in the sand. And if you cross it, we're going to draw another line in the sand. Because that's what Obama did. And now we're doing the same thing. If they invade, there will be severe consequences. Like, we're going to take 2 out of the several thousand banks that you run your money through. We're going to take 2 of them, and we're going to shut you down from being able to use them. It doesn't mean shit. So what you've done is you poked them with a needle. It's still not going to stop them. It's still going to do nothing. And then, like I said, Mr. President, here's one way that you could solve the problem where we got the pain at the pump. Open up the American pipelines back up and allow for people to drill for oil and let us to start really producing our own oil. Get us back off of foreign oil dependence. Get us back to energy independence. We were there not too long ago. Look how low fuel prices got. We can get there again. There you go. Get mean. Freeze assets. We could freeze passports, boot ambassadors, and yeah, we could kick out the Russian ambassadors. We could freeze any other assets they have in the United States. We could freeze passports. Them saying that we're not gonna be paying on the debt, on our debt that Russia, part of our debt that Russia owns. China owns most of it, but we're not gonna pay on the debt. Okay. So that still doesn't matter. Expel Russian cores. Tariff all Russian businesses with any natural allies. There's lots of things we could do that are way tougher than this. There's tons of things we could do. I honestly cannot believe that this is the tough sanctions. There was nothing tough in any of that. There wasn't. This is we're going to look tough, but we're not going to do anything. We're going to do something to say we did something, but that something means nothing. That's pretty much what just happened. That's literally what just happened. Is the president, like I said, if Russia invades, we're going to do something serious. No, we're not. I said that last time he said that. We're not going to do anything. And just watching that speech, we're not doing anything. We're really not. And that's the sad part. Folks, your fuel prices are going to go up. They are. They're going to go up. Because the one way to solve this problem about fuel prices being caught up in this is very easy to establish. It's like I said, my father and my grandfather used to tell me all the time, if you've got a problem, you fix it on your end. You do what you could do on your end to fix it. And if there's still a problem, then, oh well. We're not fixing it on our end. Once again, we are blaming everybody else for our problems. You know, kind of like how people are today. Oh, it's your fault that I have these problems in my life. It's your fault. It's your fault. And that's what he sat up there and said. He sat there and blamed everybody else for our problem. But yet, 2 years ago, we had energy independence. We had oil independence. We are the ones who set the price. And now we don't. And because of this, we're paying for more. We're paying more and more and more. And like I said, we are currently on tap. We're currently on tap to surpass $100 a barrel. If it didn't pass it today, it's probably going to pass it the next day or two. And then we're on, and at the rate we're going to surpass the highest rate of per barrel cost of per barrel of oil we've ever seen in history. Nikolai's over here saying, release some of the 500 billion gallons of the oil reserves this country holds. Might be 500 million. Not, I believe it's 500 million barrels. But remember, it's going to cost us a hell of a lot of money, Nikolai, to replace it because we're not putting out as much oil as we were. Once again, it's everybody else's fault. It's all this fake hate bullshit again. It's your fault. It's your fault. No, horse shit. It's our fault. And like I said, Mr. President, and if I was president, I wouldn't be sitting up there blaming everybody else like y'all seem to do. Oh, it's like this guy's fault. It's that guy's fault. No, I would understand. The buck stops at me. I'm the president of the United States of America. I take full responsibility for that shit. Ask anybody who's been under my leadership in anything. When crap hits the fan, I take responsibility for it. Every bit of it. Even if I literally had nothing to do with it. I will still put the blame on me. Why? Because it stops at me and I'm the one that has to take the responsibility. Well, we don't have that. We have a president that's blaming everybody else. We have an administration that's blaming everybody else. Jen Psaki sat up there yesterday talking about how it's everybody else's fault. Nobody takes responsibility for their own actions anymore. No one. This is where this. I put up a video yesterday on my Facebook feed. Nikolai saw it. Okay, Zion Brin saw it. About when Ronald Reagan made the speech. The speech, "We will fight." I wish leaders spoke like that still. I wish leaders took responsibility for actions. I wish leaders would lay it out. This is what's going to happen. This is how we're going to fix it. Because that right there that we just watched is not how you fix this. This is how you sit there and wave at Putin and go, oh, we're going to be tough, but we're not going to be tough. So don't worry about us, Mr. Putin. We're not going to be that terrible. Once again, we're going to cut off the pipeline in Germany is going to be shut down. No, it's not. The German chancellor would not sit there and state that they're going to back that up. He would not say, go back and watch the when the two of them were together, when Biden and the German chancellor were together. Go back and watch the video. Every time a member of the press asked him if he was going to shut down the German chancellor, if they were going to shut down the pipeline, he wouldn't address it. Because that's going to be a whole lot of money coming into Germany. And right now, their economy, even though it is one of the best in Europe, is teetering on falling apart. So they need money to come in. And who do you think is going to be their biggest business person? Russia. So of course they don't want to shut down that pipeline because they know the amount of money that's going to come in. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this shit out, but evidently the administration, either one of two things is happening here, folks, and I don't like going down the conspiracy theory route, but one of two things is happening. Either one, behind the scenes, we're working with them. Okay? Either one, we're working with these people behind the scenes. Or two, our leadership just doesn't know what the hell they're doing. And the worst part is, the man that's president's been in office longer than all of them. I don't get it. Even I, who have never been a politician before, understand how this works and what you have to do. I made the joke. I made the joke to my significant the other night. Said, "Fuck it, I'll run for president." The bad part is I don't think anybody's ready to have a president that has a 21 and a quarter inch goatee braid and a mohawk. And yes, I do have a mohawk. Okay. I don't think the country's ready for that. Not to mention the fact I don't think the country's ready for somebody to stand up there when a member of the press asks something stupid. I look at him and go, "Are you an idiot? Because that has got to be the dumbest question I've ever heard. No, let's go to somebody else, not you. We are all sick and damn tired of the helpless crybaby routines. We all have kids more responsible than our leaders. We do. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's the sad part. What I got out of that was a confused, tired old man that told you that it's everybody else's fault, that we're not really going to do anything. Germany closed all of their nuclear plants. They literally cannot cut off the Eastern Bloc oil without brownouts. They can't. That's another thing that nobody's talking about. You're right on that. If Germany shuts down that pipeline, if Germany doesn't allow oil flow like they need, they're going to start having problems big time, because Germany doesn't run nuclear power plants anymore. They shut them down. I thought that was extremely stupid of them, but that's what they chose to do. Folks, I have no problem with green energy. I really don't. It's just not there to where we need it to be in order to run society off of it. It's just not there. I'm all for doing things for the environment. God knows we could be better keepers of the earth. But it's just, it's crazy. Mohawk for president, President Goatee. Vote for me 2024. Why? Look at what your choices are. My goatee has more banks than NATO, right? More balls than NATO. There you go. That's probably what you're trying to say in your, and it auto-corrected you again. Folks, if you ever watch the chat, sometimes when you read the chat and you're like, that's not what Zion Bryn typed. I've read enough of Zion Bryn's text sometimes to understand how the autocorrect feature works and the translations. My goatee has more balls than NATO. Yeah, is what it's supposed to mean. At first, I was like, banks. I'm like Joe Biden up here trying to read a teleprompter, not understanding why the fuck they put that in there. And then it's like, oh, that's balls. Anyway, folks, that's our show for tonight. I could rant for hours and hours off of that 9-minute that 9-minute deal that literally meant nothing. Okay, folks, just my takeaway from that, it means nothing. We're doing nothing, and prepare to pay for it. Just prepare for it. Green tech is still three generations away, at least, from being viable. Yeah, I think that's a fair estimate. I think that's a fair estimate. We've still got a long way to go before green energy could take over, and we would not need any. We could use just solidly green energy in order to run things. I think that's a fair estimate. Unless we get them investing in companies like Solyndra that we dump a bunch of money into, and then the company goes missing because they were friends of the president. But that's another conspiracy theory that's actually not really a theory. But anyhow, folks, on that note, I'm going to call this show to an end. You guys have yourselves a good night. I don't know what to say when it comes to this. I really don't. Update on Prime Minister Blackface. He's trying to. I didn't see the final result of the vote. I think they're still discussing it. He's trying to get the Emergency Act that he passed in Canada permanent. I don't have any update on that as the last time I had seen it. I don't know if they've passed it through or not. So I don't know where they're on that either. So All right, ladies and gentlemen, you guys, thank you for being a part of the show. Once again, if you like what you saw, click that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, hit like down there. Also, share this with your friends. If you really, really enjoy the show, check out therichwilsonshow.com. therichwilsonshow.com. You'll find cool stuff on there, notifications, and you'll find a merch store. That's right. You'll find a merch store, and the purchasing of the merchandise goes directly to making sure that we can keep doing this, because this isn't free. And God knows just about everything else in this country is getting more and more expensive by the day. So anyway, folks, you guys have yourselves a good night. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which doesn't leave me much room for error. And, we got a comment in the chat there. Thorium reactors. Oh, wait, China took our research and is doing it because we won't. Thorium reactors are definitely the way of the future, but, oh well. Not going to see that in the United States. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, have yourselves a wonderful night. For everybody here at the world-famous Rich Wilson Show, Dave, thank you very much for everything that you do. And we'll see you back here. Same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow night. Right here. Have yourselves a good one. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
I think that works for after
At
the
no
president,
point
not going to lie.
in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points.